Okay, so this is a view of the laning phase for Perkz. He's playing against Ruler. It's Ashe Leona versus Jhin Tahm Kench. The key thing to look out for when you're playing against Ashe is that she's really good chase down. So if they ever initiate a trade and you can't like forcibly win in that moment, it can turn around pretty poorly onto you. So he throws volley. He does it because these guys are crossing. Like they're trying their best to just kind of avoid the range. He steps up at first and maybe kind of like contact with him. At this point though, once he procs lethal tempo, like he easily could just achieve level 2 and like better wave control than the Jhin, because most likely the Jhin will throw a Q on the wave, clear the first 3 melees. That makes it kind of evenish, but they still should have advantage on just kind of like pushing forward. Also because these guys showed in lane and showed here really early, this means that Nidalee most likely is pathing down, whereas the Lilia wants to path up. So you really want to be super careful on how volatile you make the lane. He has 4 pots. He has 2 pots. Yes, you can use them to make your trades effective, especially Jhin. So you can be a little bit more liberal with them. But you still have to be mindful because if Nidalee clears and they're low, then she could just move in for a dive. And TF can possibly spend a TP to make this play happen too. So he autos and throws a W. He's not really being contested when this happens. So watch. W. Okay, so I didn't watch that he actually got an auto off, though it makes sense with like his HP going down. He was thinking about autoing the melees, but he saw his intention to actually like fight forward, so he actually changed his mind and they trade autos. If the W hits, it's like small advantage for Jhin in the trade overall. But he misses. So Leo is going back and forth in this brush. This is pressuring them. They technically could ward this, but if Leo starts Q, that means she could actually kill the ward right away, and then this becomes kind of a waste. And the wave is already in a position where it's most likely going to be pushing into them, and they'll hit level 2 first, so yeah, this ward doesn't really matter. A ward here would matter if the wave keeps pushing out, but like here it would be kind of like dangerous. So he gets queued. Now here's the thing. So he's getting slowed and he's trying to run away from them, right? I'll start from here. So when he gets queued here, if he runs this way, he's fine. Nothing bad happens. But because Ruler decides to run this way, and then because Leo stays here, they can actually press into him, and then there's too much of a gap between Ashe and Leo to effectively like do damage or do good return damage essentially. It's like this is the gap, this is their gap, but they're already together. And then look when Leo starts moving. So Leo moves now. He's already like in an awkward spot. The melees aren't like the range aren't really gonna aggro onto them either. He goes. He loses a ranged minion, and the trade overall is like 1 pot on Tom, and then Ashe lost more HP. Not a bad trade. The only thing they gave up was basically 1 melee. This here. This is the only thing they gave up. So technically he could last hit this, and then they just back up, but instead they went for this. So he hits the volley. Now here's the thing. Ashe, just like in that Reckless video, Ashe moves back and then Leo goes forward. They're doing this because there's a level 2 difference, but because Ashe already used volley, that means it's still 1 ability on both of these guys and 1 ability on, or 2 abilities on him, and no ability on her. So it's just like essentially even in that sense. But if you remember, any volatile situation is advantageous for Genji, because again, Nidalee is clearing down. So if they get too low, then it's problematic. So they should have respected this a little bit more and probably backed up more, even though they do have pots to play around with. Tahm Kench has only 1. So he goes in, he ignites. This was actually okay if he just ran. But they decided to keep fighting. And then that's why this turns around pretty poorly. So if they just accepted the Leo trade, just auto attacked her and then backed off because of how, like, the gap difference and then the ability difference. Again, it was 2 to 2 versus 3 to 2, right? Because there's no volley. It was not even that bad. And they would have, maybe Tom has to burn in like his other pot, whatever. But they're okay. But because they decided to keep fighting, he's low. And now look what Jankos is doing. Jankos should be going into this top side naturally, so he can stay like up in camps or even in camps versus Nidalee, which is rather important. But he decides to come down here because it's volatile, and if he doesn't, he's going to leave these guys on a fucking island with Nidalee permanently down here. So they have to use jungle to kind of correct what happened. And then Perkz kind of, I don't know if I would say grief, but like it's really awkward because he steps forward. Now the melees are here behind him. They just want to go for this guy. At this point, like he's really low. There's no more heal. He could flash. Actually, I don't know if it kills with Aftershock. Like I'm not 100% sure, but there's a good chance they could probably just kill Leo with the 4th still, and then they're out. But he doesn't do it. They're able to kind of answer back, and then they kill Tom, who's been like kind of like sitting around here. It's a 2 for 2 with Lilia having a bad path, but the wave should be good for Jhin. So that's the only upside. But downside, Ashe got 2 kills. So even her losing like creeps is not going to affect her at all in terms of gold. So we'll see what he does with his wave. Because in reality, at this point, he should just be trying to freeze. Like, he has boots. They don't want to fight. They know that Ashe is going to come back with much better items. So Nidalee can be down here. Nidalee can be down here. Nidalee could be playing for both crabs. She could be playing for bot crab into a gank if well, it can't be a gank if they keep the freeze, right? So if they don't do anything, then Nidalee naturally should path upwards or base, one of the two. If they pushed it, then she would stay after the crab and put them in a bad spot. She could even base and just have a pink. Like if they got a pink, they could pink this side, and then she would base and she'd go back to her top side, and then there'd be faint pressure into here, and they'd most likely have to ask for help or play in a way that might mean that they lose minions just for the push. So he's like constantly autoing this melee, and I have no idea why. Like he really wants to just keep the wave here, like as long as he can, and this melee is helping them. Like, there's your last hit, miss, whatever. He auto attacks this once to speed it up a little bit, which should never happen. And also remember, the low range minion, this is for the one that he used the 4th shot on. He used the 4th shot on that. So he went for a Q, hit a melee. He just used another Q. Most likely Nidalee's on top side at this point. There's no way she would stay around on bot for this long. Okay, so they're really happy with how this wave is looking so far. They initiate trade because the wave is coming in, so it's just very common that when you're building a wave, you just press in, right? Like just as support, like you do this as top laner, you can do this as mid laner, you just initiate a trade, you trade HP, you have the wave. If they get low enough, then you can solo dive. Like that's pretty much how it works. So Nidalee's on top side. He's waiting to see what the Ashe is gonna do. Basically, he just needs to see, is Ashe gonna try to keep pushing? If she does, I need to use return damage to keep the wave here. If she's not pushing, then I don't want to just start fast pushing all of a sudden until my jungler's near.
Art must exist beyond reason.
So you see Lilia, she has 2 more camps that she really wants to do before she lands on bot the cover. Silas is taking his base. TF will be 6 in like 40-50 seconds. So Lilia should be coming down. She'll cover them. This is the wave they want to get in. So the key thing is when your jungler does a natural path into covering you, that usually means that you want to play, either you're baiting, and you're fine to bait for a little bit, or you want to get that wave, this immediate wave in, so your jungler can base and re-clear. Like, you don't want to waste your jungler's time too much, or for too long. So in this case, TF hits 6, as predicted, in 3 to 34 seconds. This is like the timer that you hit level 6 as solo lanes. Or at least for mid lane, like top lane's a little bit later, just like a little bit later. You can tell Shen's level 4, so like some shit happened where he just like does not have fucking experience. And they initiate into this. Lily is here to cover. They kind of knew that this was what was gonna happen, which is really weird. I assume they like. I don't know if he got spotted or not. I assume he did, but I have no idea. And you can see like the TF has a fat wave in, so TF can go top or bot. This wave is bad, and then the top wave looks like it's bad for red side too. But they just initiate, so I assume Lilia wasn't seen, and then he just goes. And this is like pretty good. Because Silas is not going to be able to deny mid wave. Lilia can help with the push if she wants to, though it's kind of spooky still. And these guys end up backing off because they notice that Silas got the wave in. So, anyway, they're definitely going to back off, right? I mean, this wave's coming into them. Okay. Well, that was stupid. So all I'll say is, Nidalee's here. This is why they feel confident pushing, right? I'm not going to be too technical on like how Perkz is like dealing with the wave. Like at this point, Perkz is literally just trying to push this in with Silas moving down, right? And either they get a dive off or they get a gank off. But he decides instead of letting the wave come in, they're trying to force push it so he can take a base. They don't want him to get his BF by. And they have Nidalee on standby. But for some odd reason, like they think like it's okay dealing with the Silas this way, which just seems really weird. And there you go. Suddenly, Perkz has a nice lead. And it all came off of Genji's mistakes. He didn't really do anything out of the extraordinary to get this lead. Nor was their actual, like, laning play exactly that good either. So they take their base, he gets his BF. These guys get their wave in. So first thing, they see that Lilia's topside, right? Lilia's top, they're fast pushing this, they're not slow building it. Herald's coming up soon. They spot TF. Bot lane hasn't shown yet. And now Leo shows. So, should he do anything different here? Technically, he could slow push this. Like, he could definitely take this a little bit slower and then do one more wave for it to crash in, and then they have a bigger timer to move. It also means that if they try to fuck with Herald, it would result in 2 waves crashing bot, which is a lot more... Like, it's way better, because it gives you more time to DPS the turret. DPS the turret with the bigger wave, and then this means the range minions get more damage down as well. But he decides not to. He decides to fast push it. And he does that mostly so Tahm Kench can just, like, dip. That's mostly the reason why he does it. He technically could move early. The Tahm Kench could move early while he slow builds too. That's a very valid thing to do as well. And then so next what you see is Mickey's looking to zone anyone that's like trying to get around, right? Like, so anyone that wants to come back, like Mickey is looking for them. And then even places a pink down. So he ends up getting 2 plates and he denies both waves. There's also another advantage. Here. This is the last thing I'm just going to talk about. There's also another advantage towards slow pushing when you look at this situation. So Lily is already topside. She's looking to protect the Shen, right? Shen has ulti. This means that if they build a wave and they look to dive bot, they have Shen no matter what, even if Lily and Silas are topside. These guys can't just randomly show up here without that threat being placed onto them from the turret. Most likely, Leo's already shifting into top for Herald. If she's not, if none of them are showing on this wave, they're for sure like moving into there. And then what would happen, most likely, is that Ashe would be contesting here, and then they can keep people here, and then they're playing for Herald, right? That's what most likely what Shenji would be looking at, and then this is just kind of like given. But Genji ends up just resetting the map. Everyone covers their lanes, but they lose a lot bot. That's about it, really. So that was Perkz. Again, I think the really only thing you could look at is just, okay, when is it good to actually give up minions and trade? How far do I have to be in threat range when they hit, like, you know, like just the basic like level 2, level 3 all ins? And how does that actually play out based on where my jungler is? And then how did my jungler react in that case? For the most part, Jankos did save them, and them being able to get kills back because Genji greeted. Like Genji's duo overall probably played the lane better, but the way they used their resources was worse compared to G2, and that made the difference.